I am Reverend Leslie Goodwin. I'm your associate minister here at the New Vision Center, and I'm delighted to have the opportunity to sum up our month of Glow Up. And we talked about glowing up on the inside. We talked about the ultimate glow up, which is our connection with divinity on the inside of ourselves, whether you consider that God or your highest inner self or just the really great ideas that come out of your heart. Turns out inside the mind, it doesn't so much matter what you call that. It matters that you connect with it. And we talked about ways we glow up in the world, interacting with one another and being kind. And last week, Reverend Karin dropped a very quiet bombshell. And I don't know that we all heard it enough, so I decided to take an entire talk to deepen into that point. She shared a quote that said, I'm going to paraphrase, that embracing your wholeness, becoming who you really are, isn't additive, it's subtractive. And then I just sat right there, sort of dazzled by that thought for the rest of the message. And for anybody who isn't following me, what we're saying is it's not about going out and getting something or becoming something different to feel good about who you are. It's about taking off what was never true. So I have this example I like to use. People who've taken classes with me will be like, oh God, it's the sweaters again. And now you know who's taking classes with me. And I think of it like this. Imagine every time you get hurt or wounded or learn something that doesn't invite you into expansion, you put on kind of a loosely woven sweater. And your heart is shining your light out, and some of it's blocked, but it's shining through those holes, right? And then another thing happens, and you put on another sweater, and now some of the light's blocked, but not all of it. And we go through life putting on sweater after sweater until we look like this. No light is getting out of those piles and piles of sweaters, but it's still there. It's still there. Just like when the sun goes behind the clouds, we know that there is still a sun, and just like when the sun sets, we know it hasn't abandoned us forever. It's coming back, and we celebrate in ways big and small on winter solstice because we trust that the longer days are returning. We know that's true. And the same is true for us. On the inside of our own beingness, that light is still shining. But here we are wearing a ridiculous number of sweaters. And I know many, many people in this sanctuary in our online campus are feeling really tender right now. We've lost a friend into whatever happens next. There are interpersonal challenges. There are faith questions. There's whatever happened with your family or friends over Thanksgiving. Almost certainly somebody said something. It's a given, right? And so here we are, buried in sweaters, some of them fresh, brand new, knitting needles still hanging from the side, they're so new. So what if I were to say the subtractive element is taking off sweaters? It's just that easy. I don't know how you get ready in the morning, but I seem to try on approximately 4 outfits before I manage to pick one outfit, yes? A lot of female nods, a lot of male confusion. Today we're going to talk about 3 sweaters that almost everybody has at least a really lightweight version of on our beingness. That when we remove them, or when we at least identify they're there and start to contemplate removing them, or as I like to call it, just unraveling, just pull the thread to unravel that sweater. When we allow ourselves even the contemplation of taking off those sweaters, we are getting closer to the brightness of the truth of who we are. So science of mind tells us that we are already whole, complete, and perfect. And that doesn't mean we're not a jerk. Wouldn't it be great if it did? It doesn't mean we always behave in the most loving, beautiful way. But it means that within us already is everything we could possibly ever need to be that full brightness of ourselves. We don't need to go out there to get it. So the first sweater we have to get through, this is the one on the very top, and it usually is like leather and studs. And it's the armor we wear. So it's important that we're talking about the same definition of what armor is in this context. And it's the emotions, thoughts, and beliefs we use to protect ourselves when we feel vulnerable. And the most common one we see is cynicism. I don't care. Doesn't matter. Not my problem. They're all the same. Better do it by myself because everybody else is dumb. I heard just the tiniest little giggle over there. And we use it to protect ourselves, right? I mean, I can almost physically feel the armor that keeps me away from those who could hurt my heart, right? The thing is, it also keeps away everyone who could warm my heart. And it keeps me trapped within the armor. Our armor is really covering our shame, our fear of rejection, and it's demonstrating our belief in separation. Simply having the armor demonstrates our faith in the idea of being separate from the one. Are we all still breathing? It's a hard one to kind of look right in the face, right? Because we will argue all the way to the mat that no, I know what spirit is. I know that God's spirit, the divine universe, the highest wisdom of life. I know that I'm never separate from that. But the minute I put a wall between my heart and the beings on the other side of it, the minute I make them separate, I'm proving that I believe in separation. That makes this a spiky sweater. You know, most sweaters don't bite back when you try to take them off, but this one has thorns. And here's the trick. Here's the trick wrapped up in the whole thing, is that we believe in the creative process. And what we put attention on, we are inviting the universe to bring to us amplified, right? Some call that the law of attraction, the law of cause and effect. When we are thinking thoughts of separation, we are inviting more evidence of separation into our experience. Simply through the act of trying to resist rejection, we are ensuring that we get it. So what do we do? What do we do when we have caught ourselves in this little catch-22? Or if we take off our sweater and risk being hurt, that too would be evidence of separation. I encourage you to just look within right now. Almost certainly whatever you're armored against most has been loud in your brain the whole time I've been talking. See if you can dig in to that thing that you are afraid of and get it down to one word. Is it rejection? Is it death? Is it pain? What's the fear? What are you most afraid of? And then see if you can notice what quality of the divine is missing in that feeling. Is it love? Is it peace? Is it wisdom? See, when we can identify the quality of the divine, the feeling tone of life that feels like a healing response to that thing we're afraid of. We're shifting our faith from that place of fear into that place of empowerment and wholeness of who we really are. And that's the quality that will empower us to begin to take off that sweater of armor. Even if all we have in us is to pull that thread that much, just that much, and unravel that little bit. If we're doing that day by day as we notice, the day will come when that sweater is gone. Now you might think, well, that's good for you to say up there, Reverend Leslie, because I have the notes that tell me that's true. But I also have the life experience to tell you it's true. Bit by bit, I've unraveled a lot of my armoredness. And I'm still pulling. I'm still pulling. The second sweater I want to talk about, I call spiritual arrogance. And I found this definition, the ego hijacking your spiritual growth. It can be believing one is further on their spiritual path than others, or even just further on your spiritual path than you actually are. And it's hard to know, right? Because where you're at is the furthest you've been on your spiritual path. And we can't know what else there is. But okay, take a nice deep breath, because I'm going to share a tough truth. There is always more. You're not all the way there, because there is no all the way there. I suppose there is the concept of dissolving so completely into the infinite love and oneness of the divine that we scatter into a million sparkling bits of matter and dust and God stuff and merge into the Godhead entirely. But I've never done that, nor has anyone I've ever personally met. So I think we have to acknowledge odds are there is further to go on this delightful path. What spiritual arrogance is covering up in us is a confusion, a misunderstanding of what the point of spiritual growth is. It's not to be better. It's not to be higher up than. It's not to climb a ladder of spiritual whatever, to be, I'm the biggest mamma jamma in this ministerial field. Like, it's not any of that. It's not about being thought of as good. That can happen, but that's not what it's about. It's about being who we really were before we put all those sweaters on. And spiritual arrogance tells us, you're not wearing sweaters. I'm not wearing any sweaters. Meanwhile, they're everywhere, right? It tricks us into thinking we don't have more work to do. And that gets in the way of our ability to uncover who we really are. True spiritual maturity is humility, curiosity, deep listening, openness, a willingness. And you've fallen into it when you find yourself using spiritual ideas to separate you rather than connect. And you really know you're in it when you use the phrase, I know. I don't need that class. I already took that class. I took foundations 15 years ago. I don't need to take foundations. This is a different foundations class, completely rewritten. And even if it wasn't, you are a different person than you were when you took foundations 15, 12, 5 years ago. There is nowhere, no class, no book, no ministerial guide, no practitioner that cannot open you up to another layer of yourself, no matter how many times you've done it before, because we are infinite beings. We are infinite. So we can lay down the spiritual arrogance, lay down the I know. It isn't serving us. And the third sweater, friends, is judgment. declaring something good or bad from a separated, ego-based perspective. Now, that's different than, that's not for me. We can do that without an ego-based perspective. That's called discernment. It's different. But if there's heat in it, if there's looking down your nose at it, if there's, I'm much further than that. Oh, there we've got judgment with spiritual arrogance. Oh no, we're putting on extra sweaters. We're trying to go the other way. We know we've fallen into it when we find condemnation, comparison, superiority or inferiority, when we're trying to fix or manage another person, or sometimes even ourselves. I've fallen into self-judgment I don't know how many times, and odds are I'll do it again because I'm still wearing sweaters. But we keep pulling on the threads. We know we're really, really in the midst of this judgment sweater when we find ourselves doing something called triangulation. Anybody ever heard of that? It's where we have a challenge with someone, and instead of talking to that person about it, we go talk to that person about that person. And then we go talk to that person about that person. And what we're really doing is we're recruiting an army that thinks we're right. But we don't need an army that thinks we're right. Big breath before I say this one. Being right is not a sign of spiritual maturity. Oh, and I do so love to be right. But being right isn't a sign of spiritual maturity. Instead, if we can open up, use that big heart that we have that we know is shining under those sweaters, if we can open up and allow who we really are to connect with who they really are, there isn't any need to recruit the army of people thinking we're right. There isn't any need to be right. There isn't any such thing as right. There's just love or the failure to give love. Luckily, we're infinite beings, and we can always start right now. It doesn't matter if you failed last week. Are you going to start now? Or now? Or now? Now? Now would be a good moment. Judgment covers a fear of not enoughness. I have to look at what they're doing so that nobody sees what I am or am not doing. That's a tough one to hear too. But it's one of the most common challenges that we share as humans. This fear that whatever I am isn't enough. I found this great quote from Aaliyah Parker. She's a professional basketball player. And she said, "It's so simple. True confidence comes from accepting and loving your true self. It doesn't come from being better than someone else, and it doesn't come from being right. It comes from knowing who we are, unraveling enough sweaters that who we are is louder in our own head than all the lies we've told ourselves our whole life." Ernest Holmes gave us an affirmation that I think is a very good sweater unraveler. I have implicit confidence in the supreme good, and I permit it to flow through me and bless everything I contact. That doesn't require being right. It doesn't require being better. It doesn't require being protected. It just is. I have implicit confidence in the supreme good, and I permit it to flow through me and bless everything I contact. Let's say it together. I have implicit confidence in the supreme good, and I permit it to flow through me and bless everything I contact. And so your invitation this week, and all through the holidays as we move through, is to pick the sweater that was the most irritating to you when I put it up on the slide. And day by day, moment by moment, pull the thread. See if you can unravel some of that sweater. It bothered you that I talked about it because it is most in your way. Shall we do it together? And so it is. Let's anchor this in with some prayer. How good it is to remember that there is this infinite power that is always right where we are. On the inside of our own beingness, that voice that rises up on the inside of us is Spirit, the universe, the good. And how good it is to remember that this is the truth of who we each are. Each within the sound of my voice is the divine made manifest. And so I just speak a word for each of us that that which was on our heart, our mind, as we came into this time together is met with Spirit right during this prayer. Those who are challenged around lack are meeting that consciousness of abundance. Those whose hearts are heavy and sad are met in that place where love and peace come together. Those who are feeling a challenge with their physical health are met with wholeness. All of these beautiful qualities already built into who and what we are simply because we exist. And so knowing this, I just have so much gratitude, and I call it good as we say, and so it is.